Hey everyone, Will Brink here, brinkzone.com. Just getting on with some Alpha Joe, of course, and that always gets my brain sort of percolating. Actually, I need some more now that I'm looking down at my coffee cup. So, a topic that I wanted to talk about a little bit today was movies, and if you watch this channel, you can see that I review a lot of different things. Obviously, my bread and butter, my foundational knowledge and all that is in nutrition and health, fitness, anti-aging, that kind of thing. But if you look at, you can see that I review watches, you see I review audio equipment, all kinds of things. Well, another thing that I do review is movies. I love movies. I've been a connoisseur of movies ever since I was a kid. I do review movies on my Facebook page. Again, I haven't done any real movie reviews here because one thing I don't really like to do is reinvent the wheel. If there's other channels that are doing something really well and I don't feel like I'm going to bring anything to that topic, then I just feel like I'd rather watch them do it, frankly. And there's other people reviewing movies just do a really good job that I'm never, frankly, going to be as good at. So, but I did have an idea, an angle on movies that I don't think I've never seen anybody else discuss it. And that's movies that are great movies that you wish you had never seen. And what I mean by that is, again, these are not, of course, bad movies. They're not movies, this movie is terrible. These are movies that are fantastic movies as movies go, and yet you wish you had never seen them. And I'm going to name three movies in particular, and then one may call it a 3.5 or a fourth one, but just three movies that just jumped right out of me in this category. Maybe you have some, if you understand where I'm coming from. You may not agree with where I'm coming from and have no idea what I'm talking about but if you understand what I'm talking about, and I miss some, then you can leave those below. But what I mean by movies I wish I had never seen, like I say, is like, even as a kid, I was really never a big fan of horror movies. Now, I saw the classics, of course, but I have to say, back in the day, horror movies were a genre that was considered, really top tier stuff made by top tier movie makers. Psycho. You had Steven Spielberg doing Jaws. I mean, you had movies that were, the genre was made by top tier people, and so they were onto themselves. The Exorcist, they were onto themselves really good movies. And as time went on, whatever reason, the genre of horror movies, for the most part, just became a race to the bottom of blood and torture scenes and all that, with a few exceptions, and I'm actually going to name one. But for the most part, I saw the classics, but even as a kid, I was not, really that interested with like the horror movies and stuff. Again, I felt even as a kid that things that made me stressed out, anxious, whatever, that was free. I walk out of my house and it was free, stress and horror was right in front of you. And I think that's true today. But for the most part, there's a few movies that, again, kind of stand out to me that were great movies. I, of course, was amazed by how good they were, whether it was the acting, whether it was the cinematography, the dialogue, whatever. And they really stressed me out or were just really depressing or whatever. And honestly, in retrospect, I wish I'd never seen them, to be perfectly honest with you. The first one that I'm going to mention is The Deer Hunter. The Deer Hunter with De Niro and Christopher Walken is a very good movie. I mean, if you haven't seen The Deer Hunter, and you want to be depressed as all hell, watch The Deer Hunter. But it's about Vietnam veterans basically returning back to the world and having a very difficult time adjusting back to the world, and they go back and forth in time. And I'm not gonna ruin it for you, but it's a very powerful movie, and it is depressing as hell. And I have to say, when I think about that movie, Everything about it is a terribly good movie. But I say I from personally would be perfectly happy of never having seen that movie. So that's the first one. That like I say that just comes to mind. The second one, which again is a favorite of many people, which is a horror movie. I guess technically it's a horror movie. I don't know, thriller, horror, whatever. Is Seven. And I'm sure many of people are going to. Well, I don't know. You're going to think I'm crazy. Again, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It's a great movie. It was very well done. In fact, it was so well done that again, I just found it really stressed me out, and I don't want to be stressed out. I'm sorry. I think, and I've always felt this way. I think today, I'm sure we all say, well, today is so weird and crazy out there but I've always felt this way, even since then. Stress and anxiety and fear and all that's free. That's like every day. I get to turn on the news or whatever. I've never really understood the value of watching something that leaves me not feeling any better at the end of the movie, or whatever, whether I'm, it doesn't have to always have a happy ending, of course, but just there are movies that I don't come away thinking, I really enjoyed that. I didn't enjoy it. I was stressed. I was, and man, that last scene, what's in the box? Damn. Like I say, I would be perfectly happy having never seen that movie. It stressed the hell out of me. I don't need that in my life. And, I'm sure you probably have a movie like that. What's the next one that I had in mind? In fact, let me look because of course I'm going to blank, but I actually, oh yeah, okay. I don't know how I forgot this one. The reason I had to go look is that I actually put I actually posted on my Facebook page that these are the three movies I wish I were great movies. I wish I'd never seen them, and people responding. And I thought, why don't I make a quick movie? Anyway, now this one I'm going to make no apologies for in terms of I don't even know why they made this movie, which was There Will Be Blood. That was the more of the three. That would be the most recent one. That one won, Best Picture Academy Award, which is why I saw it. I rented it. This is back when there was, good old rental place. And this to me is the quintessential movie of these three movies that of the issue that I'm talking about here. I don't know. This movie, as far as I can tell, has zero redeeming values. It is a beautiful movie. It is incredibly acted. The acting in this movie is just beautiful. And everything about this is one of the most visually beautiful movies, the way it's made. And again, obviously Daniel Day-Lewis is as he always is. He's fantastic. This movie, if you've never seen it, as far as I can tell, the entire thing that you get from this movie is that if you are a miserable, horrible, nasty person when you're poor, you're probably still going to be a miserable, nasty person when you are a success. And that is pretty much the entire lesson or whatever it is you're going to take away from this movie, because I don't know what you were supposed to get out of this movie other than stress and depression and an ending that's just awful. And I don't know. The other two, I mean, I think they were really good movies onto themselves, and they just were a movie I could have lived without seeing. There Will Be Blood. I'm not even going to say that about. I have no knowledge of what this book was. I'm sorry, what this movie, which was from a book, what this movie was for, why they made this movie. I don't know. Other than now, I think from a movie making perspective, if you're somebody who just wants to sit back and enjoy a really well done movie for the sake of the movie, i.e., the acting and cinematography and the dialogue. Yeah, this is a tremendous movie. But the entire movie, like I say, is stressful. I found it depressing. It ends. The entire movie is that way. It's violent, hence the term. And like I say, it basically ends. I'm not going to give away anything. Whereas what you learn from Daniel Day-Lewis is that he's a miserable shithead when he's working his way up the chain, and he's a psychopath, and he has no problems killing, ruining, ripping people off till he gets to the top, and then he's a miserable bastard at the top, and that's it. That's the whole deal. That's the entire movie. The end. So like I said, I haven't seen any other movie reviewers approach this one. And honestly, I'm going to do a fourth movie as sort of a 3.1, and you're all going to think I'm out of my mind. I know you are, and I know I'm going to blame you. But the fact is, I would say a good, I don't know, I'm going to call it 20 years ago or so. For the most part, I just sworn off movies that I'm not, they're only going to make me feel less happy than I went in, or more stressed than I went in. Again, the world today is, I think, even more, stressful than usual. But for the most part, it's been a while. And I'm going to give you the last one movie that it sort of, to me, is the final straw. But again, horror movies, I never was a big fan, other than, like, say, if they were really well done and they were more of a high level, I hate to use the term high art movie, but you know what I'm saying. When they were that good, there were some movies, you had to see. But for the most, there hasn't been anything like that as far as I know in a long, long time. But, good action movies, if they're well done, thrillers, and honestly, I like animation. I love animated. I watch all the Disney animated movies because, I like science fiction. Anything science fiction, that's my favorite. But anything that takes me out of the world, sorry, I'm hitting my own microphone. Anything takes me out of the world, takes me out of my head and goes somewhere else. Again, they don't have to be always fun. They can be serious. They can end as they are. But I'm looking for learning things, whether I learn something and I come away having learned something, whether I feel uplifted, whether I feel wowed by just how well it did, whatever. But if it's going to bring me down and I'm going to, watch people, just endless levels of violence or depression or torture or whatever, I'm not interested. And this is going to bring me to the fourth movie, which has to do with war movies. All right. Now, when you get to things about war in general, I've been a war movie or just the topic of war, since I was a kid. Read a gazillion books, watched every damn documentary. My family, bunch of World War II era veterans, grandfather, father, uncle. I write thrillers about special operations, called one of my series called Vacation Gone South, that are well rated, by the way, so you might want to check those out. And just to add, I'm a tour guide, or I'm an answer tour guide at the Navy SEAL Museum on my day off. So obviously, the topic of war, weapons, all that, I am interested in it. Obviously, I pay attention to it and all that. So it's not that I am, sort of put off by that per se. But again, there's more than enough history, real war, real books I can read, documentaries I can watch, and that type of thing. And the movie that swore me off of war movies from then on was Saving Private Ryan. That, again, is the best movie. It sets the standard in the genre. I think before that, Platoon set the standard in the genre, but Saving Private Ryan sets the standard in the genre of war movies, and I wish I had never seen it. I think I literally had PSD after seeing that damn movie. And I remember very clearly saying that, A, I don't think there'll ever be a war movie that's going to top this one, and I doubt there ever has been. And two, I already knew the story very well, of course. Again, for example, speaking of D-Day and the beginning of Private Ryan, if you're a history buff, the precursors to the Navy SEALs, which were the UDT Frogmen, were created in Fort Pierce, Florida, which is where we trained for Normandy. And that's why the museum is there. So, again, I'm interested in the topic. Backing up a little bit, I do think, again, that war movies, especially good war movies, again, not crappy, cheesy war movies, where the Germans invade Hawaii and blah, blah, blah. I mean, good war movies like Saving Private Ryan stuff, I think those are important. I think they should be made, and I think people should see them, especially younger people, because it's one way of reminding them and teaching them and stuff about that particular war, but just war in general and how awful it is. And again, you can read about it, but sometimes a good movie like that can kind of get to you and speak to you, and maybe you find some interest in the topic. Maybe you go read some books on it or something. So I think they're important movies, especially if they're, like I say, if they're well done. So I'm all for them, but I don't want to see them because, again, I know the story and I've read on it. But honestly, Saving Private Ryan, man, I tell you, that was it. That was the last war movie I saw. That was a long time ago, right? What are we talking about? Late 90s? Or, I don't know, early 2000s? But that was the last war movie I saw because I just don't. Again, I am consistently reading. In fact, I just wrote another fiction novella. It's a historical fiction novella. It's my first historical fiction novella, and it is about a woman named Helena Citronova, who was a real person who survived in a concentration camp, and that's not out yet, but it will be. And so again, I research it, I read about it, and I just don't need to be, stressed out by intense blood and destruction and death and all that. And so that's my three primary ones that just came to my mind. I'm sure there's others, but those three in particular, like I say, they kind of traumatized me. And I don't think I'm easily traumatized, or at least I just don't see the value in anything that it does not make me feel better. Like I say, I think the real world is stressful enough, and so if I'm going to give 2 hours of my time, it's going to be, like I say, something that kind of takes me out of my own head, or isn't reminding me of what a messed up place the world is. So that's it. Please like this if it resonates with you. Sub up, and see y'all on the Brink Zone.